All right, yesterday was Labor Day in the United States, and Labor Day is just a celebration or a remembrance or whatever you want to call it. We stopped to think about all the labor and all the energy that's been put into this country and what's built this country. A lot of people built a lot of things. And it's not just physical labor, it's everything. It's, you know, your mental capacity, your physical capacity, all your energy. All the energy that people have willfully devoted to building this nation. And yesterday was a celebration of that. The problem I have with it is that we're no longer fairly compensated for our labor, because we're in a situation now in a debt-based system, pyramid scheme, where every dollar that's loaned out, there's debt attached to it. So that debt then has to be paid back. So you have to create more dollars, and they're not dollars, they're Federal Reserve notes. I mean, it's not a constitutional dollar, it's not backed by anything. But every dollar has to have interest attached, you know, so that interest has to be paid back, so you got to create more of them. So you create, and it goes on and on and on, until at some point, you just can't even keep up with the debt and service the debt. And our government's at that point. A lot of people are at that point. And why is that? Because you're paid in those worthless Federal Reserve notes that they can continue to create more of. And that devalues you. It devalues your labor, your energy, our energy. So we get paid in this really, you know, diminishing currency. And so we wonder why it's so hard to keep up. Well, you know, it's hard to buy food. Oh, insurance is so expensive. My gosh, the cost of vehicles, you know, I can't afford it, so I drive a digibug. You know, it doesn't make any sense to go out and buy a new vehicle. You know, I mean, so I fix what I have. The problem is now you're getting into a point where you can't even fix a lot of the vehicles that you want to just keep running because the parts aren't available, because we have issues in the supply chain for whatever reason. And my dog wants to get out because we've stopped the car now. So it makes it difficult for anybody to survive, because you're in a system that is completely debt-based, completely unsound. There is no sound money. The last peg of any semblance of, you know, sound money that we had was eliminated on August 15th, 1971. 50 years ago, when Nixon took us off the gold standard. You know, that's when foreign countries could come and, you know, hey, you know, I want to redeem my dollars in gold. And he said, nope, we're done with that. And it was only supposed to be temporary. So, you know, 50 years temporary. Just like two weeks to stop the spread. Temporary. Everything's temporary. You know, it's all going to go back to normal. Not going to go back to normal, because we're on a progressive path away from normal. A progressive path away from the Constitution. We're so progressive, but that's where we're at. And so you don't have a fair representation of your labor anymore. Okay, if I build a house today, or if I'm a carpenter, I know a carpenter named Mitch. If he builds a house today, and he's paid a certain amount of dollars for that house, say it's a 2,000 square foot house, he's paid a certain amount of dollars for that house. All right, so that's a representation today of his labor that's been, you know, used. And so he's getting paid in dollars. Now, if he's to hold those dollars for 20 years and do nothing with them, is that going to hold the same amount of value? So if he went and built a house 20 years from now, 2,000 square foot house, I don't even care about the cost of materials, but the cost of the labor, his energy, what he does, how much is he going to get paid? Is he going to get paid the same amount in US dollars? No, because they're going to be so inflated. So, you know, say he gets $10,000 for a job. Saves that money, you know, $10,000 under the mattress, whatever. 10 years from now, he does a job. Same job, he's not going to get paid $10,000. He'll probably have to get paid $20,000 for it, because there's so much more money in circulation that what was back then is no longer valuable. You know, you see it, you know, hey, I used to buy a candy bar and a soda and a hamburger for $0.25, you know, and all this. It's because the quarter had silver in it back then. That was one big thing. But it's still, the money supply is constantly being created and enlarged. So it takes more of those dollars to go out and purchase something. The same item that you purchased last week. It takes more of them because you have more dollars involved. All right, here's an example. Here you are, you know, on a tropical island. There's water everywhere, you know, waterfalls, beautiful streams, you know, plenty of water. How valuable is water at that point? You're surrounded by water, you know, in the ocean. How valuable is water at that point? I mean, how much does it, you know, how much value is water if there's an endless supply of fresh water? Now, I'll take that same, so, you know, it's not like you can't sell it for a premium. There's plenty of it. You know, it's everywhere. You know, it's like, whatever. But then you go to the desert, and then you got a bottle of water in the middle of a desert where, you know, miles around, there's nothing. There's no one. How much is that water worth? You know, it's a scarce asset. It's a finite asset. So if you have a little bit of money, and let's say it's just gold, let's say it's silver, let's say it's cryptocurrency especially, that's even better than gold and silver because it is a finite asset. Bitcoin is a finite asset. Litecoin is a finite asset. There's only so many that can be created, and that's it. You can't mine more of them. I mean, you can up to a certain point, and then that's it. It's done. Can't get any more. That scarcity, that value, that holds value. So if you get paid in gold or if you get paid in silver, that's going to hold more value just from the standpoint of there's only so much of it. You can get paid in Bitcoin, you get paid in Litecoin. Over the long term, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, that's going to hold its value because there's only so much of it to go around. And you can't just create more of it and flood the market with it. It's just not there. You can't do it. Whereas, you know, with the Federal Reserve notes, you can do that. Now, I know I'm ranting on all this stuff, but it's irritating, it's frustrating that we're celebrating people who have given their souls almost to work and build skyscrapers and, you know, magnificent structures and put roads, you know, and make America to a point where it was great. And then you see that you're getting robbed of that energy. All that effort that they put forth, if they had just saved those dollar bills, they'd be worth nothing today. You know, it's just, you're not getting paid in sound money. It's not a fair representation of your worth. And that's why I call it a vampire system, because they 100% know what they're doing. They set it up this way. They rigged it this way. They want to make sure they're robbing you every single day, and they do that through inflation. And what is inflation? Monetary inflation is creating more money than is needed. And so that's why the price of houses go up. Because all that money, oh, here, have some more money, have some more money. Yeah, drive the price of it up. And it becomes a speculative asset. Meanwhile, you got people that need to live in their homes. They need to have a place to live. And so the price of everything's going up. And so they're really not paying a fair value for the house. But got to live somewhere. So you do. And so for 30 years, you pay for a house and you pay for it twice and sometimes over twice the amount that you originally paid. Because you have unsound money is really what it comes down to. It's not worth anything. And we've robbed it from people. I mean, not we, but I mean, you know, this system has robbed people of their energy. I mean, it's completely sad. So, I mean, now we're forced into a situation. Well, you need to get interest somewhere. Well, you need to chase gains. And so we're in this casino system because if we had sound money, we wouldn't have to worry about it. We could take our money that we're paid for our energy, our labor, boom, set it over here, and it's going to be worth the same amount of purchasing power next year, 10 years. Leave it to your children. It's always going to have the same amount of purchasing power. But does it? No. It doesn't. They used to say a gold coin, a 1 ounce gold coin would buy a very nice suit. You know, and I mean, I guess you look at it that way. You know, when it was $35, you know, for a gold coin, it would buy a nice suit. And now it's $1,800, buy a really nice suit. And that's just kind of a comparison. But, you know, it can be anything. You take let's say, okay, do an example of gold. Gold used to be $35 an ounce. All right, so if it's $35 an ounce, and you took $35 in cash and set it aside, you know, 50 years ago, and then you take that $35 gold coin, or $20 gold coin. You know, it used to be 35, whatever. You know, take whatever you want. Let's call it $20 because you get $20 gold pieces. All right, so you got a $20 gold piece and a $20 bill. Take the $20 bill and save it for 50 years. What's it worth? $20 isn't worth crap right now. But if you had taken the $20 gold piece, it's worth $1,800 right now. See, it maintained purchasing power as inflation increased. There are assets like that that can do that. And now's the time that we have to make sure that we get into those things because we are getting drained because the dollar is dying. Federal Reserve notes dying. We are getting drained, and so we're going to have to pay and pay and pay, and we're not going to be able to keep up. And that's just what's happening. So if you've worked your whole life, you've labored away, and you've got, you know, a good chunk of money, now's the time to really start thinking about what are you going to do with it. Are you going to put it into just dollar bills and stick it in, you know, treasuries and, you know, safe assets like that yield nothing? Because you're forced to get yield in this rigged game. If you don't, then you're behind the curve. So you got to chase, you know, gains and interest and get in the stock market and do all these things, then get taxed on it. I mean, or do you put your assets, put your energy, put your labor that you've stored up into something that's going to hold that? And really, there are a few assets out there right now that can do that. I mean, there's a lot of them, but it's, you know, some get complicated and they're not easy and liquid. Cryptocurrency, it's the most liquid thing out there right now, I think. I mean, you look at something like Litecoin with 84 million, you've only got, you know, it's like 0.01 for everybody in the world. 0.01 Litecoin for everyone in the world. And you can go buy a whole one right now for a little over $200. That is a steal. Silver is another, just a screaming steal, 25 bucks an ounce. I mean, then you're going to pay a premium for the markup, so you might pay 30 bucks an ounce for, you know, a good coin, silver coin. Doesn't matter. I mean, those things are going to hold their value much better than putting it in a Federal Reserve note or putting it in government issued paper. It's just not going to work. I mean, we're at that situation in history where if we don't do something to protect ourselves, we're in trouble. We're going to lose. So that's why I preach these things. You know, I saw something else on the news, the local news this morning about there's a new variant out. New variant, the moo variant. I don't know, moo buckaroo, but variant. And now it's, well, we really don't know how dangerous it is. Oh, we don't know if we need to come up with a booster for that yet. And even if boosters will work. And, you know, the whole, it's just at some point, get over the fear. Get over this stuff. We have an immune system. It either works or it doesn't work. And obviously what they're doing isn't working very well because there are a lot of cases of people getting sick after taking this prick. Think what you will on it, but, you know, don't do anything that you don't want to do to your body. Your body, your choice. You know, don't get bullied into doing something you don't want to do. That's really what it comes down to. On both sides, it does not matter. Don't do something you don't want to do. But I look at it now, and I mean, it's a little interesting. So I watch the news, and they say, well, Pfizer is going to, you know, look into this and see, you know, this new variant and what needs to be done. As though they are the scientific experts. They are a for-profit company. And then you look at the advertising on the news after that. It's all these pharmaceutical companies. We got to get our head around that they're not our friends and they're not here to save us. Otherwise, we wouldn't have cancer now, would we? Because I guarantee that could be wiped out. They make billions and billions of dollars in profits. Follow the money. What do you think their motivation is? Is there a motivation to cure something? Or is there a motivation to put you on a little program, you know, so they can basically feed off you like vampires the rest of your life? And on that note, we'll just let it be. Got to go get the dog. She's wandering off. Don't want her getting into anything she shouldn't. So I hope you have a wonderful day. Think about where we're at in society, where we're at in this current economic system. We are going through a collapse right now of the economic system. Start making changes and start looking at things that are going to protect you from that are going to protect your labor and store your labor up into something that you can hold for a year, 10 years, 50 years. Doesn't matter. It needs to be something that holds value. So seek those things out. Do some research on that. Don't get bullied into doing anything, and trust yourself. I hope you have a wonderful day. I love you all.